For decades, securing a visa felt like crossing the final hurdle. You packed your bags, boarded a flight, and assumed your destination would be safe. The data from 2024 to 2026 shatters that assumption. We are now looking at a landscape defined by targeted threats and systemic backlash. Host nations are experiencing intense domestic pressures. In Australia, housing crises and economic strain have triggered aggressive political rallies, where migrants are blamed directly for systemic local issues. That political rhetoric has spilled into the streets. Between July and August of 2025 alone, Ireland saw a concentrated wave of real-world assaults, including robberies and racial slurs directed at Indian nationals. The UK reported similar spikes in racially aggravated attacks. At the macro level, state relations are fracturing. Extremist and separatist movements operating within Canada and the US have forced severe diplomatic breakdowns, placing regular expats caught in the middle under intense scrutiny. For students and shift workers, the vulnerability is physical. Data from 2024 and 2025 shows a disturbing pattern of fatal robberies targeting Indians working late hours in isolated areas like gas stations. You have to weigh the upfront effort of preparing for these risks against the severe consequences of ignoring them. The global Indian dream comes with immense opportunity, but assuming you will be universally welcomed without a deliberate mitigation strategy is an active liability. To understand why this backlash is happening now, we have to look at the math. The sheer volume of the Indian footprint overseas is actively altering global demographics. This map visualizes the scale of that footprint, nearly 36 million Indians distributed across the globe. Breaking that down, we see 15.85 million NRI citizens and 20 million of Indian origin, with massive concentration bubbles over North America and the Gulf. This creates a difficult paradox. Host nations are highly dependent on this population for economic growth and labor, yet that same volume triggers intense local anxieties over housing costs and cultural integration. Because of this visibility, the diaspora faces a dual-front crisis. You have external predators targeting a large, wealthy migrant group for exploitation, while simultaneously dealing with the internal friction caused by cultural clashes. To survive this environment, you need a comprehensive situational awareness framework that starts the moment you land. Preparation is the only reliable barrier between seizing an opportunity and becoming a statistic in a massive, highly visible demographic. The absolute baseline for physical safety is actively identifying and avoiding high-risk zones. The data shows most physical assaults on students occurred when walking alone through deserted parking lots or visiting ATMs after 10 p.m. Beyond avoiding danger, you need a safety net. Registering with the local Indian embassy takes exactly 5 minutes upon arrival, a step that ensures the embassy can immediately coordinate with local authorities if things go wrong. But the fastest-growing threat isn't physical. In 2025 alone, Indians collectively lost $25 billion to digital fraud. Professionals and expats are facing highly sophisticated traps. Complaints regarding visa and immigration fraud saw an explosive 76-fold spike in a single year. The defense against this is a strict zero-trust policy. If a caller claims to be from USCIS, ICE, or any government agency, and they demand immediate payment or an OTP, it is unequivocally a scam. Hang up. Scams also manifest as physical traps. Families have died attempting illegal border crossings in North America, and overseas data entry jobs in Southeast Asia frequently act as deceptive fronts for human trafficking. The victims of those Southeast Asian job offers do not end up in offices. They are forced into cyberslavery, trapped inside fortified compounds and stripped of their passports. In modern global travel, treating government phone calls with blind trust or accepting unverified overseas job offers is a direct invitation to financial ruin or captivity. While criminal threats are external, reputational damage is entirely self-inflicted. Failing to adapt to local civic norms directly fuels the anti-immigrant resentment we see in host countries. The baseline habits of an Indian traveler often collide with the strict, non-negotiable public expectations abroad. In countries like Japan, Germany, and the UK, maintaining quiet on public transport and respecting a queue are rigid cultural laws. Line cutting is taken personally. Treating sacred or religious sites as backdrops for social media content carries severe consequences. Dancing or loud behavior at these locations has led to outright bans for Indian tourist groups and widespread viral outrage. For expats, friction often starts at home. In shared living spaces, minor issues like strong cooking odors or failing to follow strict waste disposal rules frequently escalate into bitter housing disputes with neighbors. Every traveler needs to adopt the ambassador mindset. Because the diaspora is under a microscope, your individual public behavior actively shapes the global perception of India. Deploying soft power through local etiquette diffuses negative stereotypes and builds long-term goodwill in your host community. Threat profiles vary heavily by age and occupation. A 19-year-old student and a 40-year-old corporate worker face entirely different risks, and they require customized defenses. For students, the priority is immediate physical and social safety. You must thoroughly document any harassment, recording time and location, and instantly connect with local diaspora safety networks and student unions. To mitigate physical risk, never navigate unfamiliar or politically tense neighborhoods alone. Traveling in groups is an absolute necessity. Corporate expats face a different reality. Your highest stakes exposure is legal deportation. Violating strict visa work hour limits, subletting illegally, or misunderstanding tax treaties will instantly compromise your residency. Expats must also adapt to Western workplace culture. Indirect communication is often misread as a lack of confidence, and failing to explicitly share credit among teammates creates deep rifts in professional trust. For long-term residents, strict legal compliance and proactive neighborhood integration are your only sustainable shields against systemic bias. For the short-term tourist, the primary risk is not legal or physical. It is reputational damage stemming from a lack of cultural context. Before any flight, execute a 30-minute mandate. Research the tipping culture, the haggling rules, and the strict dress codes for specific sites at your destination. Approaching a new culture as a guest rather than a customer leads to better service and earns genuine respect from locals. The era of moving or traveling abroad on autopilot is definitively over. Active awareness is your ultimate protection. Taking proactive responsibility for your personal safety, your legal compliance, and your cultural footprint is the non-negotiable cost of the global Indian dream.